everyone, and welcome to SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guest, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes. I'm delighted today to be joined by David Yawalkar, Head of Solution Management, Rise with SAP. Is that still your job title, David?
Yeah, basically SAP sometimes changes our job families around from solution management, product marketing, but it works perfectly. So generally responsible for the private cloud offering, for the package. The job really didn't change in the past 5 years since I'm responsible for it. So we can call it that. So
just evolved.
Yeah, it's SAP, so sometimes there's different opinions on how job families should be called, but basically it's the same thing, commercially being responsible for the private cloud offering, the go-to-market, the positioning of the offering, working with customers, especially installed-based customers, to educate them on the move to private cloud, and that's basically what my team is doing. Yeah.
So. Oh, fantastic. And just on that, I mean, today's episode, we're going to be discussing how SAP has been engaging with users on the S4 and AI journeys, including involvement in the SUGEN Transformation Charter, as a follow-up to the episode we recorded previously with Ian Mallinson last year.
Yeah, that's fun. And I enjoy talking to customers and the user groups. So for me, this is a unique opportunity for feedback. I think you always get a reality check on you're in the Waldorf ivory tower and we are changing sometimes go-to-market strategies, namings of offerings. I think for us, it's the best way to get out there, get feedback from customers to see what reaches our customers, what's still unclear. And that's why the work with you guys, especially through the user groups, is extremely good for me and probably the best feedback channel that I can get access to.
Oh, fantastic. And as we're talking about transformation, just before we get into the main topic, if you could transform into any animal for 24 hours, what would it be and why?
Oh, I'm a big lover of Africa, so I go on safari almost every year.
Oh, wow.
So I'd be a leopard is one of my favorite animals. So I'll be a leopard on a tree, resting, hanging out, and taking a look at the African sun. Yeah, surprising question, but I love animals. So I'm a big Africa guy. So whenever I can, I try to travel out. Actually, just returned 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! That's a great answer.
Yeah.
You know, I immediately went to a family dog or something because I am actually allergic to cats and dogs, but we have a grand dog. So my son and daughter-in-law and kids have a dog, and he comes to stay with us now and again, not very often, and he gets more attention than I do. So yeah, I think I'd go for the dog just to maybe get a bit of attention.
Okay, so you'll be the dog. Okay, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, David. And
sure.
Just now, moving swiftly on. For those of you that haven't heard you on the podcast before, and I'll give kind of a little bit of an introduction there. But you just give us introduce yourself and your role at SAP.
So 10 years with the company now. I've started in the company actually in the S4HANA public cloud space when S4HANA public cloud was really new. Spent quite some years there. Then transitioned into the intelligent technology space, doing some topics around machine learning and IoT when SAP was investing there quite a lot. The first times when AI was basically 5-6 years ago, first time a thing. And ever since now for 5.5, 6 years, now responsible for the private cloud. So since we launched the offering, really, I have more or less the same role with expanded responsibilities, but responsible for the private cloud offering as a whole, the commercials around it, the positioning, go-to-market. So I have members on my team who cover the different commercial models that we have in private cloud. We have different flavors because we offer to different customer segments. Some want to have it in their data center, some want to have it on a hyperscaler. So all these commercial differences we're covering. Yeah.
Thank you. And we mentioned it a little bit earlier, the SUGEN Transformation Charter.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little bit of background on that and perhaps why it was created?
Yeah. So basically we sat together internally as well, and we thought, well, how can we get the best access to customers and feedback from customers? What do they miss from SAP in terms of education to make a proper decision towards their move? What's blocking them? What's hindering them? So basically us trying to find out and get feedback on our offerings and on our positioning. And I was reaching out to Yasmin and aligning with her as well, she being responsible for the user groups. How can we get the group together and try to get feedback, but also use the group to channel our information out to the users as much as possible. Me not being in a sales role, but rather being in a role where I'm making sure that the relevant information gets out there. This is a good opportunity for us and for my team to make sure we get an understanding what the market understands, what the market still requires from us, where we have gaps in positioning. Do they even know all the changes sometimes we do? Customers are 2 changes behind because we are changing so fast, thinking customers adapt as fast as we change our messaging, that this reality check is extremely important. So basically the charter tries to address all important topics around Cloud ERP. First of all, what Cloud ERP offerings do we have in the market? What are the timelines in terms of maintenance customers are facing in the next 3 to 5 years or may have already faced? Topics around how does AI work in Cloud ERP? What use cases are already available? What's still marketing? What's reality? Topics around clean core, a buzzword we've been using quite a bit, demystifying that. So it's basically a channel for us to educate, but even more important, to get the feedback back on, okay, what do customers understand? What's clear? What are we maybe even missing as SAP in terms of putting the right information out there? Because we know there are still quite some installed base customers that we want to move, and we want to attract them the right way and position the right materials for them to make the right decision. So that's what the charter offers to us. So.
Fantastic. And from your perspective and SAP's perspective, what have been, I suppose, some of the most important and perhaps even surprising insights that you've gained from the customers involved?
Yeah, I think the most important is to educate on public and private cloud, the differences in S4, and giving clarity on what the real differences are and the strategic importance of the two. I think important insights were that some customers have been confused. Is the only way to go public cloud? Is the only way to go private cloud? Are both options strategic? Just to get that feedback and information from the market, what's well understood, helped a lot. I think also getting straight feedback from why are customers not moving, what's holding them back right now, getting insights there from the charter was extremely helpful for me. Important insights from the group, and interestingly, especially the SUGEN Transformation Charter, it varies among countries sometimes. So there are very similar issues or similar problems that customers are facing, but sometimes there's also different markets and different approaches. I've been doing transformation days around the world in the past month and years now. Sometimes you go to a country and you ask who's already on S4, and suddenly all hands go up. And then next country you go, who's on S4, almost no hand goes up, everyone's on ERP, so on the old ECC world. So that's why I think this group of people gets very good and different insights. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, fantastic. You mentioned there about learning what's holding customers back. So what are some of the biggest reasons that is holding customers back? I
think, and I've said it, I think on our last podcast a bit, I think customers are running a pretty stable ERP system. They've built themselves a very safe, stable harbor on where they're operating and things are working. They are complex and they are customized and modified, but they're fairly stable, and our ERP software is a really good one, also the one that we've been releasing many years ago. So I think the biggest thing is that customers are sometimes lacking the understanding of the value of S4, proving the business that this is a project that they need to do. What innovations will they be getting that is really improving their business? I think this is what's holding them sometimes back. Also just the effort of the project per se. How long will the project take? Do I do a new implementation? Do I do a system conversion, a brownfield? Deciding between the two approaches, not knowing what to do. So the lack of information, what's the best implementation approach, may hold back. But I also really think that customers are running really stable setups. But the difficulty is, when is it too late to move, right? Right now, customers have been fairly stable for many years and it worked well, right? But at the times of AI now, the question is, when are you moving too late and then miss out on functionality that where your competitors are really moving away from you, right? Which probably with the times of AI now could be fairly soon. So that's what I'm thinking has been holding customers back.
A competitive advantage challenge there, of course. And what are some of perhaps the consistent themes that come up from customers in the discussions?
So consistent themes are basically, as I mentioned, that they are struggling. Should they do a new implementation or a system conversion brownfield? So what are the advantages and also the costs behind a project? I think SAP is always promoting the value of the software, and customers come from, okay, but how much does the project cost me? Because it's not only the software, right? It's the partner, it's the project, it's the time of how long will it take them to move to S4. So this is what's coming up. So quite some TCO discussions, but we are trying to also move away from entertaining only a TCO approach. We need to, in this world today, show the value also of our products and showcasing why they will gain business benefits from using our latest software, and not only winning with a better competitive price, even though we know that's what customers are also looking for, a combination of the two. So I think that's pretty consistently coming up. Customers sometimes asking, if I now bet on private cloud, will I need to move to public cloud in the next 3 to 5 years? So a bit sometimes of a struggle. Do I make the right choice with private over public or public over private, the other way around? I think, which is good that we are made clear that both are strategic products for us moving forward. It's for different market segments. This is what we've been clarifying in the past month and also through the charter. So these things are coming up quite a bit when we talk.
And with them both being strategic products, do you see private and public cloud obviously going a long way into the future?
Yes. So basically we have two set of development teams for two different products, right? They are two different code lines developing for different market requirements. So private cloud more for the installed base, the more complex customers, the sometimes mostly larger customers. Then public cloud more for the more standardized mid-market net new customers. Obviously, exceptions are always there when a net new customer may need private cloud, or an installed base customer says, no, I want to fully transform and adapt to a standard. My strategy is going public cloud. Both being strategic for us long term, as we know that some of the large customers will probably need private cloud for the next years to come, and that's why I'm glad we've done so. We've committed to say these are two products that are important to us. Obviously, if a customer can fully transform, can fully standardize, the quickest access to innovation will be a public cloud, because you have these automatic upgrades that are happening twice a year. You're more standardized. Whereas some customers just do require flexibility, they do require data sovereignty, they do require data in country, they would choose private cloud. So both being a valid option for us.
Yeah, I suppose sometimes a customer may look and think, okay, if I go public cloud, I'm getting 2 upgrades a year, whatever. I've got to plan for any disruption that might bring. If I go private cloud, I can do it when I want to do it. But I think history has kind of told us with S4HANA, especially on the on-prem version, is that when you go on and it's stable, you don't do the upgrades. So you're getting to the end of life and you think, and have to do it now, and then you have time pressures.
That's exactly the trade-off, right? In the private cloud, and that's what we are trying to pursue with this clean core, etc. We are fearing customers don't change their mindset. They just simply put S4HANA in a private cloud. They enjoy being stable for a long time, but then also not consuming the latest innovations. For us, it's also not great if we come up with very new innovations in the AI space and customers are not upgrading to the latest release. We cannot get feedback on these innovations. We won't get references, so it's a win-win for us as well. If a customer comes to the latest release, consumes innovations, they get the newest innovations that hopefully help them to tremendously drive their business. We get feedback on our innovations that we are developing. I think the problem is always flexibility comes at the trade-off of customers need to make more themselves and make sure that they stay active and move things forward. Whereas public cloud, there's less flexibility. You are driven by how the software advances, but obviously you have to adapt a bit more, right? So there's always a trade-off. There's probably no good or bad, but if you go private, you need a strong governance and a plan on how often you upgrade, and then also do it. We sometimes have private cloud customers that go into the private cloud and they don't start using Fiori. And then the business asks them, why did we do this project? Where's the value of it? And then we tell them, well, you should adapt Fiori. You need to consume the innovations of S4, whereas in public cloud, there's only Fiori, right? So for private cloud, you have to do a bit more to make sure that you're really doing what you need to adapt the software in the best possible way. Yeah.
Otherwise, I suppose, like you said there, you're upgrading the engine, but you've not got a new dashboard.
For example, yeah. And you don't want to make this only a technical project where we are upgrading from your old ECC world to S4 technically, and then your UX is the same, your business processes don't change. We always advise customers not to stop, right? Don't just do a brownfield and don't adapt the new innovations. You don't adapt Fiori, then you don't get the value out of S4HANA. So even a brownfield project to do a lift and shift or a system conversion is fairly quick. But then to get value out of it, you need to keep going. You need to work on this clean core approach, adapting Fiori, implementing your new innovations that weren't there before to get value out of it. Yeah, that's important.
Putting a Rolls-Royce engine in a Larder.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying SAP's ever been a Larder, by the way. But
yeah.
There you go.
No, I get the analogy. Yeah.
So just going back to what we were talking about earlier about the themes and the challenges, and you also mentioned doing the transformation days around the world. Do you notice any specific regional differences in how organizations are approaching transformation?
There are, and it's actually country specific is what I'm recognizing. It's a mindset topic. So sometimes we go to Latin America and we think, well, probably these people are far away from the Waldorf area. They will surely be all on ECC. Then you ask them, who's already on S4 private cloud? And all hands go up in the room. And you're like, ooh, okay, I would have expected there's the ECC hands coming up in this side of the world. And then you're going to Germany or the closer where you think, oh, this is close to Waldorf, there's a lot of action here, and then suddenly there's more ECC than S. So it's really country specific. I think for some countries or also some regions, it's a given to go to cloud, and it's a given if we want to fully transform, if we want to keep an agile business, we need to go to cloud. There's less questioning. And then there's other countries and regions where there's more, okay, is the business case working? Am I really needing the innovations that are coming with cloud? There's more really the nitty-gritty, and not putting this in a bad way, but more the detailed assessment. What's the value that I can really get for my company? And only after this is fully displayed, then this process starts, whereas other countries are just, okay, this is the direction that the market's going, that's the right way, we just go. So I think I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's just different mindsets around the world and how companies are willing to move. What I'm just thinking is there should be a move away from ECC towards S4HANA in some shape or form as we're approaching the timelines that go to an end of maintenance where no company wants to really be in.
Yeah, very true, and quite clear on that in our last discussion on the podcast.
Yes.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UKI SUG membership with those who don't know about us? The UKI Sub referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
You mentioned earlier about access to innovations, adopting innovations, etc. So has there been conversations in the charter around AI, business data, cloud, and those innovations?
Yeah, so basically in the charter, we've been discussing quite a bit of the innovations that are cloud only. So we try to give transparency to all charter members. Okay, what innovations will I not get if I stay S4 on-prem or if I stay on ERP? There's one reason is you won't get access to AI innovations, as SAP has decided this is a cloud-only innovation. So we've educated there, we've made transparent. There's Roadmap Explorer that clearly shows what's cloud-only to come and what's coming in on-premise versus cloud. We have an upcoming session actually on Thursday where we plan to demo a lot of AI scenarios to the charter, because what the problem is, and I get that, right? There's so much hype around AI, so much marketing around AI. Customers want to know what's actually really already available and working in the system. And SAP knocked me out of my shoes or socks to showcase what AI is working in your system today. Don't show me future scenarios that you're planning on the roadmap. Don't show me a marketing slide on how important AI is. We all get that. I think customers are now expecting to see what's working already today. Can you showcase me how your system is doing AI today? So the next charter session on Thursday, we're trying to demo what's already available up in the system today.
Okay, so are you seeing now that AI is becoming a serious consideration for organizations outside of the hype?
Yeah, so I think there's a trade-off of trying to put the curtain away of the hype and see what's really there, and then realize is that bringing value to me? I think it's a bit with AI in the sense of if you don't jump on the bandwagon early enough, if everyone else is on, it may take off really fast. I think it's now, there was a time of where there was the hype and maybe just some first real use cases, and customers were like, well, let me wait for some more use cases to come. Let me assess them first. But then it can go really quick of not being on such use cases that suddenly help you to accelerate your business quite significantly. And what I can see being close to the development organization within SAP, this is where almost all our investment go. Building agents, expanding our digital assistant Joule with new capabilities. Our full roadmap is driven by it, and looking at it, once everything becomes more and more available and customers adopting it, I think there is an efficiency gain which is not underestimated. And if customers are still then on an old ERP, still 12-month project away from even being on S4, let alone then consuming AI, there may be a gap there from my point of view. Yeah.
No, thank you. And so you mentioned earlier about feedback from the user groups and clear messaging or needing more clear messaging. So how has feedback from the user groups in the charter influenced SAP's approach or messaging?
Oh, it does all the time. So I think this is for us one of the most important feedback channels, as especially my team is asked not to do too many customer individual meetings, but rather do things that scale so that we can deliver messages where we get feedback from a broader group and from a broader audience. I think for me, one of the key findings was also SAP, you change the brands rise and grow all the time. So what's now rise and grow? What does it mean now? What's Cloud ERP versus Cloud ERP private? What's the package? What's a journey? Just some feedback of customers that we need to be really careful when we change these brands around, that we educate properly. So that was also a clear feedback from the charter members to say, you should not change these things as often, because once we understand it, you change it again, right? So obviously we know change is probably constant in this world, and change is normal and sometimes also needed to move things forward. One of my key findings was we need to be very careful when we make a change, and then do a proper rollout and make sure we educate especially user groups very early so they can help us scale into their customers and into the customers that are signed up to the individual user groups. That's why I personally spent a good amount of my time in the past years with the user groups now, because I feel like this is my channel where I can get a lot of information across that then the user group can help me to get feedback back. Yeah, so that's why I think these insights helped quite a lot, and the feedback on especially the brandings.
Some impact and helping steer.
Yeah, there was, for example, I think the feedback from the user groups was also, SAP is private cloud long-term strategic. You told us 2, 3 years, 4 years ago, S4 on-prem is just as strategic as the cloud versions. There's full choice. Now suddenly I'm missing out on S4 on-prem on some innovations that are still there in the cloud. Will you do the same with private cloud? Will you tell me now private cloud is long-term strategic, and then you force me and tell me public cloud is the only way? So that was a strong feedback that also the user groups brought into the company. And I think it was Thomas Sauer-Essig on the keynote of the DSAG conference in the first 5-10 minutes setting the message straight to say, both are strategic products. We are both investing into both of them. So this is where the impact comes, right? If we get that clear feedback that there's irritation in the market or uncertainty, if even a board member steps up and rectifies, and that feedback comes that way, I think you can really see the impact of what user groups are having to SAP and decisions we're taking. Yeah.
Excellent. And what advice do you have for users planning around the key maintenance deadlines that we discussed previously? What advice would you give those customers?
I would think, especially as maintenance 27, 2030 is coming along, make a thorough assessment where you want to go. If you want to continue, hopefully, with SAP, look at the differences between public and private cloud and assess your requirements to make the right decision, which S4HANA product is the right one for you, right? So go early in engagements with our teams. There's discovery assessments that qualify you from our perspective for one or the other product. So I would recommend making that early. Engage early with partners to understand, should I do a new implementation or a brownfield approach? Obviously, public cloud is only a new implementation, but if you choose private, there's differences between brownfield and greenfield on how much value can you get out of it, but also how much time will the project take, how much cost will the project have. So that's things that I would say plan early. Also make clear plans on what do you want to do when adopting Fiori, for example, really quickly. If you go to private cloud to get the most business value out, think about data archiving even before you move. Assess your custom code. Do you want to carry all the custom code over? Can you leave custom code behind? Archive data before, have a data archiving strategy. All these things should be considered because sometimes they require some pre-projects. And here you are, maybe with a tight timeline of needing to start. And if you haven't done any of these pre-projects, you may probably not do them. Suddenly you carry over custom code into the cloud, which you may not need. Suddenly has an infrastructure cost to host them, to operate them. You may not have the right data for AI because you don't have a data strategy. So some pre-projects take some time. So even if customers today are not sure where to go yet, I think these pre-projects are really worth starting now, from my point of view.
Thank you. And if you had to summarize, what are the biggest risks for organizations that wait too long?
Yeah. So I think the biggest risk right now is once the AI space really takes up speed a lot, to miss out on it and miss out on being able to consume it, being maybe a 2-year project away from even getting access because you first need to implement S4 from ECC. I think that's a big risk. I know customers are saying right now it's a lot of marketing hype and the use cases are not 100% convincing me yet. I think that will change really quickly, and then you don't want to be away too much from being able to consume. I think that's one risk. Another risk is as close as the timelines come that partners are lacking capacity to support. We sometimes hear partners that are saying, with the projects that are lined up now, we cannot support more customers, so make sure your partner has capacity to support your project, because there will be a time and capacity crunch at some point. So there may be a risk there to potentially especially assess. Being on software where there's no innovations anymore. I think that's a big risk if you carry on a landscape which is really stable, but where you're not getting anything new, not getting any new technology, maybe even going out of maintenance, or simply not receiving any of the latest trends in technology. I think that's a big risk. We see many stable landscapes of customers, but these are products that are 10, 15, 20, 25 years old, where they get just maintenance, so incident support, but they don't get anything new. And obviously, time changes fairly quick, innovations change. So these are the risks that I would see at the top of my head. Yeah.
Thank you. And finally, as we come to a close, how do you see initiatives such as the Transformation Charter evolving in the future?
I hope to continue such efforts, right? I think we need to also elaborate what else do user groups demand from SAP to get the right level of information. So I think it's a great foundation now that we had to establish a good group of people for a feedback channel on Cloud ERP. So I hope to continue this effort and expand it with various different topics, or now have a focus series on AI together with Cloud ERP as a charter in itself, maybe to expand on it. So I think we will try to continue surely that effort, at least from my side. I would love to, and taking the time to really expand the scope of the charter. I think we have 1 or 2 sessions left on this. Once we set out, we wanted to do around 12 to 15 sessions, which we are almost concluding now. So it's a good time to think about how can we continue that effort.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, I think that's great, because I think it is one of the unique things in the way that SAP works with the user groups. And, I can honestly say, because I've seen it over the years, that SAP does listen. And, the user groups have a great effect representing customers from around the world in working with SAP to really get more value from the SAP solutions. So look forward to working with you on them in the future.
Likewise. And thanks for having me again on the podcast. It's really lovely to be with you, even in person, even today.
Exactly.
So that's not easy always to manage. So I'm glad. And as I said, I think the user groups are for us one of the key feedback channels, and I hope to continue with the team working together.
Oh, fantastic. Well, David, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights.
Thank you, Greg.
As you said, it was great to actually do this in person. I'm delighted we're here in London recording this across a table rather than over the airwaves, if you like, on Tinternet.
Exactly.
And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. Please make sure you do follow the podcast so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and embrace change.